Okay, we'll try that again. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate your being here to help us with our meeting. My name is John Winter. I'm the so-called chairman. I'm going to allow or ask my co-chairman, Dalton Banks, to handle this meeting. But first of all, I'll just start it off. We have a script here that we need to read to introduce everybody. So as we begin the meeting, I want to call your attention to the committee's rules of decorum. Copies of the decorum rules are located with the hard copies of the agenda and are available for view on the legislative website on the page for this meeting. We note these rules at the beginning of each meeting simply as a reminder that we expect everyone in attendance to be treated in a courteous and respectful manner. So again, my name is John Winter. I have a great committee here, and so I'm going to turn the time over to Dalton Banks, my co-chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. To get started here this morning, we are going to first hear House Bill 78, Forest Health Grant Program. This bill was, pardon? Yep, I guess we should make sure that everybody's here. Mark, if sure. Are you?
Oh. All right. Representative Campbell. That would be minerals.
It's all right.
Why I
First
have Libby.
meeting for everybody here.
That's why Libby's here. How about Representative Banks,
Here.
Representative Davis,
Here.
Representative Fornstrom,
Here.
Representative Johnson,
Here.
Representative Ottman,
Here.
Representative Provenza,
Here.
Representative Schmidt,
Here.
Representative Strock,
Here.
Chairman Winter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, full committee. All right, now we'll jump into our legislation. First bill for our consideration this morning's House Bill 78, Forest Health Grant Program. This was a bill that came before the Select Water Committee. Because the Select Water Committee is under the jurisdiction of the Ag Committee, that's why it's present before us this morning. And so we'll jump right in, and I believe Senator Hicks is going to discuss the bill, and we'll go from there. So if our colleague Senator Hicks would present the bill.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Joint Ag Committee, a pleasure to be before you here this morning. In my time in the legislature, I started out on the Ag Committee and then chaired the Senate side of the Ag Committee. It is a committee that's near and dear to my heart. You really represent the best of the state of Wyoming. But Mr. Chairman, today what you have before you is something that's been a little bit of a journey. This is actually the second year that this bill has come through you. And just to give you a little history on this, this passed out of the Senate last year, came over to the House, went through the Appropriations Committee. We just ran out of time. So this is an old friend. It's been refined a little bit. Initially, it was a Select Water Committee. They've actually worked for over 3 years now looking at this issue of effects of particularly forestry on water yield, but also the impacts to agriculture, fuels and fire. You'll know we just 2 years ago went through the most expensive fire season in the history of the state of Wyoming. And so the whole genesis of this bill is to look at the multitude of resources that are affected by our forests. From the headwaters of the Continental Divide, when we look, and particularly in my section of the state in the Colorado River, 80% of all water in the Colorado River Basin starts out as snowmelt. Most of that land is national forest, but there's still significant state and private inholdings on that. But if you take and you back out a little further and you look at the ramifications of a declining forest condition. There was a USDA report put out 2 years ago that basically said, and whether you believe in climate change or not, what we know is one of the largest emitters of methane in particular is going to be our national forest. USDA data anticipated that one of the largest contributors to climate change in the United States is likely to be the decaying national forest we have. Each and every one of you has a national forest. If it's not in your district, you travel through them on a daily basis. And you know the condition of what we have right now on our forested lands is a significant level of dead, dying, beetle kill over mature forests. Consequently, the 50-some million dollars that we paid out at the state level for those fires 2 years ago, the likelihood that that expenditure is going to go up in the future is a high probability. But it's more than just fire and water. It's wildlife, it's recreation, it's timber, it's jobs and everything. We're in a situation now in this country where we have an opportunity to start enacting active forest management. And when I say that, we have more than enough ground within the state of Wyoming on our own state lands and private lands, but also with our partners with the National Forest to start making a significant impact in reversing this trend and start restoring the condition and the health of our national forests, which is our agriculture industry, which is our recreation industry, which is our wildlife industry. I know Representative Smith, one of the things that's near and dear to your heart is bighorn sheep, but the implications of a dead and dying forest on migration corridors from high elevation summer ranges to crucial winter ranges. We've just seen the department enact with the Forest Service a large prescribed burn program over in the Whiskey Mountain area. It's critical for every component of the natural resources we do. They're interdependent, interrelated. Fire, agriculture, forestry, wildlife, recreation. What we do today with this bill has such broad implications. I'm not going to walk through the bill, Mr. Chairman. I think it's pretty straightforward as what it does, but it is a rational, reasonable, and much needed first step that we can do here on our behalf of the state of Wyoming to get this program up and running. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Hicks, for that presentation on the bill. Committee, any questions for Senator Hicks? Yeah, Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Hicks, just a question to clarify it in my mind. When this money goes into the account, it would be the state forestry account, I assume. And then when it, what kind of a criteria will say if it's going to a state project or a federal project?
So Mr. Chairman, the current draft is we came out of here last year that the funds would have only been designated for state and private lands. And the draft, the bill that you have now expands that just a little bit. And the rationale for that is because with some of the programs that are coming through USDA Forest Service right now, they will allow us to use state funds to match that. And some of these could be, so where we have strategic interests where we can build fire breaks on national forest lands that might buffer state and private lands, keep in mind, we're responsible, the state, for any fire that starts on state and private land. And one of the biggest liabilities we have is when those fires start on state and private land, and then they roll onto the federal government because we're responsible for all that suppression cost on that federal. So this is just provides an opportunity for the state forester to then go use a little bit of state money to leverage at least 50% of that for federal dollars. And where it's strategically important to locate some of these projects on Forest Service, but they are going to be paying for their 50% of that. But the primary focus is state and private, but it expands it. And in those cases where the state forestry department determines that there's a significant advantation to the state of Wyoming and our jurisdictions that would allow them to participate in a 50-50 cost share or some other, maybe even more favorable ratio on implementing projects. But at the end of the day, we make that determined through the state forester as to whether we want to participate or not.
Just a quick follow. Mr. Chairman, Senator Hicks, I just wanted to say I'm very supportive of that because in my district, things burnt for weeks and weeks and weeks because they were on federal forest land. And so that will certainly help. Thank you.
Yes, and that was the intent, Mr. Chairman, is this to carve out that special exception that we can participate at that level with our federal partners.
Further questions? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, could you expand a little bit on utility corridors that go through these mountains and things like that? How this could help prevent wildfires in that way?
Well, technically, that's the responsibility of the utility companies to maintain those corridors. And what we need to deal with there is actually one of the issues that California has dealt with this issue is actually state prohibitions on and regulations on being able to maintain the distance away from the lines and stuff. But ultimately, that's a policy issue that we need to work through Congress. I wouldn't anticipate that we would be cost sharing with the utility. Ultimately, that's their responsibility to maintain those. It doesn't say we couldn't, but that's certainly not the priority to take this money and then offset what was normally a liability, a corporate liability. Now, if we need to work on the regulatory framework on that side, is probably where we need to come in. But I don't anticipate us, unless there's some other tangible benefit, which could be a much broader section. In those cases, the utilities are usually restricted to a certain footage limitation. In some cases, it may be the length of the tree that might fall across there. But if there was a strategic advantage of the state of Wyoming to go in there and broaden that fuel break, which in some cases there may, that's where we would probably come in and participate at that level. But right now, it's clearly the responsibility of the utilities to maintain their rights of way on those forested lands.
Thank you.
Further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Chairman. There's a technical issue with the speakers
Okay,
in the room. So if whoever is talking from here or the panel, if you would, we'll try this. Try to get as close to your mic as you can so that everybody can hear.
okay.
Thank you.
We will try that. Thank you, Mark. All right, public testimony. Any public testimony in the room on House Bill 78? Please come forward. Mr. Magagna. And go ahead and come up and fill the seats. We got 3 chairs there, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim Magagna with the Wyoming Stockgrowers Association. 2 points I would emphasize about this piece of legislation that makes it very attractive to us. The first is that it's attempting to initiate programs that can prevent or lessen the likelihood of future fires. Far too often, we have to sit in front of the legislation, ask for money to deal with the impacts of fires, whether it's noxious weeds or restoration of improvements in that, and we need to do more on the front end. The other thing that we like about this bill, the way it's worded, is that it recognizes that the management of a natural resource and certainly the pathways that fires take don't represent boundaries of ownership. So by recognizing here that you could have programs that involve private land with the participation and investment of the private landowner, state trust lands, and even federal lands with the participation of the federal government that address reducing fire risk in a broader area, I think is really critical here. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would just say that we fully support this bill and the appropriation associated with it and urge you to move it forward.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Magagna with Stock Growers? Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Ladies first.
Thank you, Representative Era Arano, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. Echoing my colleagues' comments, we are in full support of this. We appreciate particularly the focus not only on fire, but on enhancement of water and water quality. We've already had fires in my county and across the state this year. And let me know if there's anyone whose crops are doing well and looking forward to that hay season. Things are kind of scary right now. So anything we can do to get that water going, we appreciate. And the acknowledgement for Habitat for Livestock as well. We appreciate. So standing in support and stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. Mr. Moline.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brett Moline, Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation. And because of the Ag Committee also on the Senate side also meeting this time, I've been asked by the Crop Improvement Association to speak for them as well. In lockstep to show ag unity, we all support this bill. Speaking for Crop Improvement and Farm Bureau, one thing I really like about this bill is that I see it as an investment. We're investing into our lands to make things better. I think, to help prevent these fires, improve habitat for all uses is important for the state of Wyoming to do it. Proactive bill, so sitting in firm support of it. And with that, I would take any questions you or the committee may have.
Thank you. Questions? All right, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jessica Crowder with the Wyoming Nature Conservancy, and we stand in support of this bill as well. I'd like to turn it over to the Wyoming State Director, Haley Mortimer, to talk more about our interest in this bill.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As she said, I am Haley Mortimer. I'm the State Director of the Wyoming Nature Conservancy. And I think I'd like to just reemphasize a lot of things that Senator Hicks said, which is this bill actually represents an opportunity for us to work really collaboratively. And I think you all know that the forest has no bounds. So when there's an incident or when there's fire, you need state, private, and federal partners all to work together. So I see this grant as something that's actually leveraging the opportunity for us to secure water in the forest. And I think that we all know that it's a very dry winter right now, and things are pretty dire. And I just put out there that 70% of the state's surface water comes from our forests. I mean, our forests are truly the best reservoirs we have. And so, just like most reservoirs have to be maintained, so do our forests. And I would just offer that you consider the ways in which, a ounce of prevention is better than a pound of intervention, right? So the more we take care of our forests, the better our water resources will be. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony.
Any questions?
Yes, any questions from the committee? Perfect. Thank you.
Chairman Banks, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning on this bill. My name is Holly Kennedy, and I'm here today representing the 34 conservation districts across the state of Wyoming. As you all know, conservation districts are literally at ground zero when it comes to both fire preventative and fire restoration work. And we are really excited about this bill and the opportunities that it brings forward to do that important work. One thing, though, that I would advocate for, the funding mechanisms and models for conservation districts. Many of our conservation districts work primarily, if not exclusively, off of grant funding. They literally have to work off of those grants to be able to get boots on the ground, work on the ground, things done. And so one thing that we would ask for you to consider on this bill is to allow for a little bit of administrative costs. And let me talk a little bit more about that and why that's so important. We all want to see this money get on the ground. And for entities like conservation districts to be able to leverage these funds to get the maximum amount of work done, they need to be able to bill a little bit of administrative time. And here's why. So for each forest health project that a conservation district takes on, it takes approximately 10 full days of staff time. And many of you are already familiar with how small conservation districts are. Often they have 1 part-time to about 3 employees, so very small staff. So when you're talking that number of days spent on each project, and they often have 10 to 12 projects at a time going on during the season. And so it's really important to be able to get these grants on the ground to be able to build just a little bit of their administrative time, again, because they don't have a large amount of base funding to draw from to pair those grants to be able to cover the cost of having that staff on board. So standing here today in support of the bill overall, just wanted to put that out there for your consideration though. And with that, I'd stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Kennedy? All right, thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you for testimony. Director, welcome to the Ag Committee.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I just like to briefly talk about our role in this bill. And as you guys know, managing healthy populations, really key for wildlife in Wyoming is through habitat management. And so to keep it pretty simple, this gives us another avenue for funding source to work on habitat projects. Last year alone, we spent over $13 million on the ground for habitat, from working with all sorts of federal, state, NGO partners and taking in and matching money with federal dollars and state dollars. So this gives us another seed pot of money to use as seed money, like Senator Hicks said, to get more projects on the ground. And specifically with some of these projects, we have lots of examples where we're doing this now. When we work in the forest ecosystem and specifically looking at fuel reduction, fire prevention, adding water resources, we recognize and very much support that we can do these projects in a way that address those things, but also help wildlife at the same time. So this can be a win-win for both. It also aligns with our statewide mule deer conservation strategy, just hot off the press. We rolled out a few weeks ago at our commission meeting. I did bring copies. I can pass out later to you guys. And it really aligns with what we need to do to bring mule deer populations back to an acceptable level in this state. So with that, I'll just stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the Game and Fish Department? All right, thank you for
Thank you,
testimony.
guys.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Matt Marshall, I'm the Assistant State Forester for Operations with State Forestry Division. And I have John Crisp, the Assistant State Forester for Co-op Forestry, joining me today. I think everyone did a great job already at covering this bill. Mr. Hicks did a fantastic job of giving you the high points here, so I'll spare you. I did want to draw some attention to a handout that's being passed out right now. It's for the Rob Roy Fuels project that was done in the Medicine Bow Route National Forest. And I think it's just a great showcase example of what we could do with a forest health grant bill. This example, I think, directly showcases what happens whenever we partner, whenever we're able to bring in outside funds from these federal funds that we typically operate on. So this project in particular was a Good Neighbor Authority project, meaning that Wyoming State Forestry employees implemented the work on the ground on the national forest, which again brings Wyoming's voice, I think, to the table, and it lets us have a little bit more play into any of these projects. I think the most important thing to call out here is this project was able to happen because of timber receipts that we took from other timber sales that were done on the national forest. The state's able to hold those whenever we do it through Good Neighbor Authority and put it back on the ground for more project work. So about $100,000 from another timber sale was put down to get this fuels reduction work done around the reservoir, which Rob Roy is a main component of Cheyenne's water system. So very important to them. We brought them to the table and they brought another $100,000 of Board of Public Utilities funding. We were able to complete this project then with those 3 different sources, which we wouldn't have been able to complete with just the normal national forest funding that we receive. And with that, like I said, I'll spare everything else. I think everyone did a great job, but John and I can absolutely stand for questions.
Thank you. Questions for the State Forestry? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many acres did you treat in this project, you know?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, Rob Roy, I believe we are about 275 acres. It's a phased approach. So you're going to see that continue to grow. It was a really intensive project, as you know, with all the mountain pine beetle that came through here, 10 years ago. It's on the ground now. That gets way more expensive for them to clean up once it's on the ground, and the trees that are left standing were not very merchantable. So that was all pretty much turned to firewood. So some of the things you're seeing here is we have to put money towards these projects in these critical areas because that merchantable timber is not there, because the volumes aren't there to make it feasible for a logger to go in. So he might not have a truckload off of every acre, and that's what he needs to make it actually balance out in his books. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. But we do plan to continue this work around the remainder of the reservoir.
Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here today. This is very important to all of us. But what I was wondering about was we had a testimony just a bit ago that said, could we consider administrative costs? What is there in the application? Can that be a consideration, or is it already?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Representative. So what this is going to do is actually create a new account also, which is very important. Some of this work that's been done in the past with the mountain pine beetle initiative that was taken on, it had to run through the fire accounts, which we want to keep that separated. Wildfire suppression should not be the same as forest health. So this will establish that account, and that's where we're going to then develop this program to say these are the things that we're looking at. Right now, I think, Larry, Mr. Hicks covered, these are going to be water. Communities are very important. Our infrastructure is going to be very important. And in terms of the application, right now, all that we have in here is that state forestry will not have to bring on any additional administrative staff to run this program. We feel that we can cover what we need to do on the state forestry side with what we have, but I cannot speak towards any outside applications that might come.
Further questions? Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Further testimony in the room before we go online. All right. We have 3 participants online, I believe. 2. All right. Who has ever you got up? Ben, all right.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to testify virtually this morning. My name is Ben Woodkey. I'm the Executive Director for Intermountain Forest Association. I'm based in South Dakota. I'll be in Cheyenne the next few days, but if you're wondering why somebody from South Dakota is testifying on this bill this morning, it's because Intermountain Forest Association is a multi-state trade association. We have members from the forest products and logging communities in South Dakota, Wyoming, and Colorado. With as much time as I spend in Wyoming, I feel like part of my heart is there, even though I'm just over the border in the Black Hills. There's been some very good testimony this morning and bringing many reasons to support this bill, so I'll try to keep my testimony brief. What I want to call particular attention to in House Bill 78 is how this legislation takes an all lands approach. The all lands approach has increasingly been seen as a critical strategy to increase the effectiveness of treatments across the landscape and recognizes that damaging wildfires and insect epidemics don't only happen on one ownership. By including all lands, this bill also opens up the possibility of unlocking potential cost share efforts with federal land management agencies, which could multiply the financial inputs to work that reduces threats of losses from wildfires and insects across the forested landscapes of the state of Wyoming. There was a question in Senator Hicks' testimony about utilities and preventing some of the fires that we've seen from utilities across the country, really. And Senator Hicks was exactly correct that that's kind of a separate policy discussion. And I'm not sure we'll ever prevent every fire that could happen from utilities. There are sometimes just extreme weather events. But anybody who knows me knows that I'm a fan of success stories. And I think that helping answer part of that question earlier, I can share a success story from the Black Hills here, where a couple years ago in springtime, we were facing moderate drought conditions, much like the year we have now, where instead of a couple feet of snow, we were dry and windy and had gusts over 60 miles per hour down around the Custer area, which caused a power line to go down and arc, which started a wildfire. And as we've seen in headlines for a few years now, these fires typically get off to the races pretty quick in high winds and cause extensive damage to communities. This one was certainly right outside of Custer, South Dakota, but we didn't see that this time. The fire burned about 110 acres, was declared out. No homes or outbuildings or other infrastructure loss occurred. And I was out there the day after, about 24 hours after the fire was reported. I flew a drone over the fire and then flew a drone over the fire a few months later. And there were virtually no losses of our forest, of our trees in that area to that fire. And that was owed entirely to work that had been done to reduce mortality from mountain pine beetle and then follow up with fuels mitigation work in that exact area. It was just dumb luck that the line went down right where that work had been done. But as we look for ways to increase our footprint across the landscape through funds and mechanisms like House Bill 78, we increase our luck that that's going to happen in an area that was treated and that we're not going to be on the evening news watching flames rip across our forests. Now, I promised to keep this brief, and I'll keep my promise and ask you to support House Bill 78, and I'll stand by for any questions if there are any. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Committee, any questions? Perfect. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Who's next, Mark?
Nick, if you would go ahead and see if we're live here.
All right, go ahead. We can't hear you. Can you turn your mic on? We can't hear you. Maybe he can't hear us. Nick, can you hear us? Because we cannot hear you. We just.
We all stand up and, it's interesting because it's, can someone read that?
There we go.
We can't hear you.
Oh, no, that's too far.
Is that working now?
There, we can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Get
Go
halfway
ahead.
through my speech there. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Nick Horn, and I serve as the outreach forester for Sunmount Lumber, a family-owned company that operates 2 sawmills located in Deer Lodge in Livingston, Montana. Between these 2 facilities, we employ approximately 300 people. For many years, the Wyoming State Forestry and Wyoming Forest Service timber programs have been integral to the operations of our Livingston sawmill. Historically, that facility has purchased roughly 60% of the timber offered from the Bighorn National Forest. Currently, Sun Mountain Lumber has approximately 18 million board feet under contract on the north end of the Bighorn Mountains. Over the past year combined, timber sales from Wyoming State Forestry and the Wyoming Forest Service have supplied approximately 5 million board feet to our Livingston mill. During that same period, our company has completed work on both the Bighorn and Shoshone National Forests, supporting fuels reduction efforts and broader forest management objectives. Despite this progress, the current economic landscape has made logistics and operating costs increasingly challenging for regional mills and logging contractors to continue implementing these critical fuels reduction projects. For that reason, I strongly support House Bill 78 and believe it will be a crucial tool in helping forest projects move forward while promoting more resilient forest landscapes. This legislation has the potential to benefit not only the Wyoming State Trust lands, but also benefit the Bighorn, Shoshone, Medicine Bow Route National Forests, while also creating opportunities for much needed forest management work on the Bridger-Teton National Forest, an area that is nearly void of industry capacity, yet faces significant management challenges. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for your time today and for the opportunity to testify in support of House Bill 78. And if anybody has any questions, I'd welcome them.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Committee, any questions? All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We covered all our Zoom testimony, Mark?
For that bill, yes.
Okay, perfect. With that, we'll close public testimony. And committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Representative Provenza, seconded by Representative Strzok. Do I hear any amendments on the bill? Any discussion? No further discussion. I'll call for the question. Mark, if you call the roll on that. Aye.
Yes, Mike. Sorry. Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
Aye.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
Aye.
Representative Schmidt,
Aye.
Representative Strzok,
Aye.
Chairman Winter. 9-0. This is a due pass.
Thank you, committee. Next bill for our consideration this morning is House Joint Resolution 2, Federal Mineral Royalties State Share. Let the room clear out a little bit. And do we have anybody from the Select Federal Natural Resource Management Committee here to speak on the bill? I don't see. Are you on the committee? Oh, sure. If you can do it, go ahead. Yeah, get down there so we can grill you. Our own Representative Davis, take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board here. I serve on the Joint Mineral Royalties Committee there, and this resolution was brought up to show support for joint appropriations, where they submitted a resolution to the federal government that is requesting a higher percentage of our royalties back, since there was the big beautiful bill, if I remember everything correctly, reduced Wyoming's share by $50 million. And so we were going to try and change the formula or request a formula change. And that's the essence of the bill, was to show support for joint appropriations on this. And with that, I'll try and answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative Davis. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward here. But if the committee does have any questions. All right, we will take it to public testimony on this bill. Public testimony, House Joint Resolution 2. Mr. Obermuller.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Pete Obermuller with the Petroleum Association of Wyoming. Pleasure to see you all. Welcome back. for the budget session. Mr. Chairman, we support the bill. I'm mostly here to answer any questions you might have about how federal royalties work. Just a minor point of clarification from Representative Davis. Otherwise, excellent presentation. Is that the One Big Beautiful Bill did not reduce Wyoming's share. It reduced the federal royalty rate overall. And Wyoming and you all supported that, in fact, because under the Biden administration, they raised the royalty rate at the federal level, which we did not support and most of Wyoming did not support. The effect of that, however, of course, is that Wyoming receives back from the federal government 49% of federal royalties paid. Why is it 49 and not 50? You often hear it shared 50-50. Just a quick history lesson there. Actually, we have President George W. Bush to thank for that. During his administration, they decided to take 1% of the state's share of federal mineral royalties to pay the administrative costs of running the royalty program. It has long been, that happened when I was on Capitol Hill working for Representative Lummis at the time. It's long been my white whale to get rid of that. It's kind of absurd. And it costs Wyoming about $40 million a year for them to pay the administrative costs of doing that. So that's the general royalty program. If the federal government was ever to loosen their grip on royalty, that would be amazing. I would love it if this bill worked. I think they might resist.
Thank you. I appreciate that background on the bill. Any questions for the Petroleum Association? Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brett Moline, Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation, sitting in support of this resolution. In my view, this makes us whole again. This gets us back to where we should be. And we all know how dependent we are upon our natural resources that are utilized through the mineral industry. So sitting in support, I would take any questions you or the committee may have, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Questions? Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a clarification and ask if I'm correct in that for the public who might be listening and doesn't know what the bill does. This is a resolution. It's not going to change the federal mineral royalties. We can't force the federal government to pay more. We are telling the federal government that they should pay us our money. Correct?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Representative Provenza, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Gentlemen, thank you. Further public testimony. Do we have online testimony on this bill?
We do not.
All right. With that, I'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Representative Ottman, seconded by Representative Provenza. Discussion, any amendments on the bill? Representative Davis.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Pete, for clearing up that. But once again, this is going from the 49% and they're going to request 87.5% of. So I have to agree with him. I doubt this will get any traction, but if you don't throw a ball out there, you'll never know. So
That's right.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion? Okay, with that, Mark, you call the roll call on House Joint Resolution 2.
Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
Representative Davis.
Aye.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
Aye.
Representative Schmidt,
Aye.
Representative Strock,
Aye.
Chairman Winter.
Aye.
9-0. This is a due pass.
Thank you. Good work, committee. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 85. This is a little bit beyond the purview of this committee, but we are going to show how much we know on this. And we will now work into post-election audit procedures, sponsored by Management Audit Committee. I believe Chairman Knapp is here to work us through this bill. So The time is yours, Chairman Knapp. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Chairman, committee, thank you for hearing this bill today. It is House Bill 85, Post-Election Audit Procedures. From management audit, we have responsibility for oversight in administrative procedures. And we tried to, this session or this interim, take a look at ways that we could improve both audits and episodes that might come up from audits. I'm sure you all heard the well reported problems that we had in an election this year in Wyoming, or last year in Wyoming. And so this particular one details how a post audit would look. Two major things that it does is it points out that the chairman will be notified for the electors that were in the race. No less than 2 electors will be present for the audit. There can be other people present from independents to other representatives. And the other important piece to this was that minutes would be taken of the audit. And so that is the gist of this bill. I know the Secretary of State's office is here, represented by Joe Rubino, who could add more to this, but I would take any questions.
Perfect. Any questions for Chairman Knapp? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Chris, this just enhances the already existing statute, just puts a new nuance on there, just basically, is that what I'm understanding here? Is this
Correct.
something that's occurring across the state?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Davis, that is correct. It gives more detail to how an audit would look and points out who would be present and that the minutes would be taken. So it adds to existing, yes.
Thank you. Further questions? Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Knapp, it's good to see you. Yeah. Okay, what I was wondering with, as far as taking the minutes, is it going to be, who would take them and where would they be stored?
The minutes would be taken, any notes that were taken would be presented by the clerk, and that would go to the Secretary of State's office. And I'll let them respond to how that might be kept and memorialized.
Further questions? Okay, thank you. With that, we'll bring up Mr. Rubino.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Joe Rubino. I'm the Secretary of State's Policy Director. I'm also the General Counsel for Secretary Gray. Secretary Gray testified numerous times during the 2025 interim in support of this bill. And I think Chairman Knapp did a great job. One of the charges to the Weston County Subcommittee was to examine the processes that were followed in the post-election audit procedures from the 2024 general election specifically, and some issues that have been widely reported regarding Weston County and the post-election audit that was submitted by the Weston County Clerk. One of the bills that's up for consideration today deals specifically with post-election audit procedures. And to answer your question, Representative Davis, and I think Chairman Knapp already did a wonderful job in doing that. Yes, this is regarding the current post-election ballot audit procedures that are set forth as a duty of the county clerk. What happens right now is that the county clerk they're supposed to examine the cast vote record with the ballot image. So on a statistically significant sample size of ballots. And then they are supposed to, after that is done, before the state canvassing board, submit that sample size and the findings of that audit to the Secretary of State's office. And we received that. speaking specifically to your question, Representative Ottman, and again, I think Chairman Knapp already did a great job in answering that. But yes, it would enhance the procedures for what a county clerk's office would do. And this really does two things. One, it increases representation from the community. That was something that I think lacks a little bit of uniformity in the statute. And that was one of the things that came out during the working group committee meetings that we had, multiple all summer and into the fall. But Ms. Langford is here to testify. The testimony that we heard during the working group during the 2025 interim was that several county clerk's offices already do have participation that's similar to their county canvassing board. In fact, some do it coinciding or before or after their county canvassing board meets, typically before their county canvassing board meets. And so the post-election ballot audit is meant to have a check on what the cast vote record actually records when compared with the ballot image. I think the bill is very straightforward, and Chairman Knapp did a good job of walking through it. I think, largely in support, as Secretary Gray has been throughout the interim. I do want to highlight one thing that we noted in our review of the bill as it currently stands, and that's on page 2, line 20. It discusses the oath that should be taken for election judges, and this has a cross-reference to existing statute for the oath that election judges take. Page 2, line 20 says, for election officials as provided in Wyoming Statute 21-8-115, it's actually titled 22-8-115. So might offer a small amendment to change the 21 to 22 on page 2, line 20. Other than that, Secretary Gray is certainly supportive of this concept, increasing the transparency and uniformity across the post-election ballot audit. So happy to stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Any questions of the Secretary of State's office? Perfect. Thank you for being here. Further testimony on House Bill 85.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Mary Langford, and I have the honor of representing the county clerks of the state of Wyoming. The clerks made some suggestions concerning this bill during the interim, and our suggestions have been incorporated in this bill, and we appreciate the opportunity to participate in the development of this bill, and we'll be able to administer it. We have one concern that we just want to bring to you, just to reiterate the fact that we're concerned about the security of this process. We will, the security of the election and the working space with a large group of people, which is what this will encourage. It's the duty of the county clerk to secure the equipment, the ballots, and the audit results. The clerks plan to accommodate the party representatives as best they can, but they want to assure you that they will do their absolute best to secure the election. And let's see, I lost my place, sorry. That means that sometimes we aren't able to move to a larger place to secure election. We're concerned about our small spaces. If you think about your courthouse and some of the spaces that they work in, it gets crowded, and especially election time, because you have a lot of equipment and a lot of people. So the ballots need to be remain secure. The equipment needs to be remain secure, and it needs to be protected. And this will all be done to preserve the integrity of the election. We also noted on page 2, the line 20 comment that Mr. Rubino made. It should be 22, and we agree with that. And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions. And again, appreciate the opportunity to participate in this bill. And we hope to be able to not have to do a lot of this. We'll just do our regular work. The one question that did come up earlier concerning about where the minutes and that type of thing will be kept. Right now, county clerks maintain minutes for their canvas, and a lot of this audit work will be done could be done in conjunction with their canvas. Those are on record in the clerk's office. And then they're also, according to this bill, to be provided to the Secretary of State's office, and that's no problem. So.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions? For the clerk, yes, Representative Davis.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, ma'am. A great testimony. My question is it logistically possible to get this implemented by the July 1st, 2026? Or is that cutting it a little close? Do you need more time, or what's the clerk's feelings on this?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Davis, that isn't a problem for us. We're already doing this procedure. Basically, this puts into statute some of the requirements where it states that we'll have these representatives there. We're already doing this audit, so it shouldn't create any burden. It's just a little bit more work, but it won't create any problems in the developing the election or that type of thing. So we should be fine.
Further questions? Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Further testimony on House Bill 85.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. I am Gail Simmons. I am with Civics 307, a nonpartisan nonprofit that is centered on civic education and citizen participation. I oppose House Bill 85. I support post-election audits. I want audits that stay technical, orderly, and on schedule so the public gets a clear answer. I also want to acknowledge why we are here. This proposal grew out of the incident in Weston County. One event matters. Policy built in reaction to a single incident needs discipline. Temper the response with risk assessment and a clear view of operational impact across all 23 counties. HB 85 adds a new formal objections track to the audit. Observers must have an opportunity to register errors or other objections with the county clerk. The clerk must transmit those statements and any clerk response to the Secretary of State with the audit results. The bill also requires formal minutes and submission no later than 1 day before the state canvassing board meets. These steps sound like transparency. In practice, they invite disruption. When you build a formal channel for objections, you create incentives to file objections as a public signal. This can happen even when the audit confirms the results. The clerk then has to document, manage, and respond to objections on a compressed timeline. In a small county, the elections team is small. Space is limited. The clerk is trying to keep chain of custody tight, keep the count organized, document procedures, and finish on time. House Bill 85 turns the clerk into a referee and a writer of formal responses during the most time-sensitive part of the canvass calendar. Supporters will say this builds trust. There is a real risk of the opposite reaction, or an opposite outcome. More paperwork and a dispute track increase delay, confusion, and headlines about objections instead of headlines about clean results, which is the purpose of the audit. If the committee wants stronger audits, focus on audit quality, set clear technical standards, provide time and support so clerks can complete the work without added conflict management. Please reject House Bill 85, and I stand for questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for Ms. Simmons? Okay, thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Oh, okay. Mr. Moline.
Mr. Chairman, Brett Moline, Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation, sitting in support of this bill. I think Mr. Rubino used a key word, the transparency. I think this bill does help with that. To be honest, I was a little surprised that the government entities that I've been on with the Planning and Zoning Fair Board, we were required to keep minutes and have those filed. I was a little surprised at a meeting that wasn't already required. I do appreciate that. It sounds like most of them were doing it. And I guess, the one thing that makes this bill workable is when the county clerks say they can make it work. That gives me confidence that things can go forward. With that, Mr. Vice Chairman, I would sit for any questions you or the committee may have for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Moline? Perfect. Thank you. Further testimony in the room? Any testimony online? None. All right. With that, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Representative Johnson, seconded by Representative Schmid.
I'm sorry, go ahead, discussion.
Yep, discussion. We're on discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering, would this be the time to change that 21 to 22?
Perfect time.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, on page 2, line 20, provided in Wyoming statute, change the 21 to 22. Further, that's it.
Thank you. That's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by, I think, Representative Brock. Discussion on the amendment. Simple change, statute 21 to 22. All in favor of the amendment? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Amendment is adopted. We're back on the bill. Further discussion or amendments on the bill? Question. Seeing none, question being called. Mark, if you call the roll on House Bill 85.
Representative Banks,
Aye.
Representative Davis,
Aye, sir.
Representative Fornstrom,
Aye.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
Aye.
Representative Schmid,
Aye.
Representative Strock, Chairman Winter. 9-0. This is a due pass.
Thank you, committee. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 86, moving right along here. Another one from Management Audit Committee, removal of county officers, election code violations. And we have Chairman Knapp all ready to go.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yes, I'm a standing fixture now here at the dais. So this one basically came from that same process analysis. And typically in an election, if you have a complaint that comes from an elector or the Board of Commissioners, it would go to the governor. He would then have the AG sign on to it to investigate and look at that. This basically changes it from not only an elector or Board of County Commissioners, it creates a subsection where you would have a qualified elector of the county, the Board of County Commissioners, or the Secretary of State if the complaint is against a county clerk that allowed misconduct or malfeasance in office. And he can also submit that as a formal complaint to the governor. So that would be the basic changes to this. And again, this came out of an alleged false audit that was presented to the Secretary of State, and who was able to actually file complaints for that. So I would stand for any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions for Chairman Knapp? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris, currently, with this, for this process, not being all snowed up on this, but for this process, would a qualified elector go to the county commissioner with a complaint? Or how's the process work currently? Because if
Mr.
we're
Chairman.
changing it here,
Representative Davis, currently, I could see it going both ways. That elector could go to the commissioners to file the complaint, or they could file directly, which in this particular case, that was what happened was several electors filed the complaint for the governor to relook at that audit portion of this. So, and I, again, will let the Secretary of State's office comment on that and tell me what a good job I did presenting.
Further question for the chairman?
Yeah,
follow up.
that was my question, how is the chain of command to do this now? How's this varying from what currently is, and what do we gain by this?
I'm gonna take that one, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and members of the committee. Joe Rubino, I'm the Policy Director and General Counsel for the Wyoming Secretary of State's office. Would you like me to answer that? And then I also have some other thoughts on the bill that the Secretary Gray has already reiterated through the interim and several of the working group meetings. But happy to answer that question now, and that'll feed into a little bit of what I'll have to say in a minute. So, Mr. Vice Chairman, Representative Davis, this is a process that's outlined in Title 18, and it's the verified complaint is the operative words. The statute does not change those operative words. What it does is change from to what's currently under the statute, which is a group of qualified electors, to and a county commission, which is what's currently in, to 3. And that's why you see some of the language that changes it to Romanettes is because LSO, I think in a drafting mechanism, just deleted those provisions, but they're restated there. So the only thing that's being added is the third prong. So nothing changes for the verified complaint process. Would be happy to send you some of the verified complaints. These are verified complaints that are submitted directly to the governor's office under Title 18 currently. So what they were and what they originated, just as a little bit of background, and Mr. Vice Chairman, if I can, then just segue into what I have to say. And I don't want to cut Chairman Knapp off either, if he had any more to say on his end. But what this came out of, it was another working group bill, and they did a lot of work on this. I think that it was definitely fleshed out a lot more throughout the 2025 interim. As a little bit of background for the committee, this comes out of, again, the false post-election audit that was submitted to our office by the Weston County Clerk following the general election in 2024. A group of qualified electors submitted a verified complaint to the governor's office alleging, among other things, misconduct in the 2024 general election. This opened a window. There's nothing in this that would change the availability of that for a group of qualified electors. To kind of put a pin on that. What followed was a review by the governor's office in which they took statements, testimony, interviewed a number of people, including they took a written report of findings from our office. And Secretary Gray compiled a large report of findings and a recommendation concerning violation of the election code, and also hitting on some of the things that were raised in the post-election audit as they relate to the request for removal that was submitted by the qualified electors in December of 2024. The response that we got from the governor's office was, and this came out during the 2025 interim, was that they took issue with what was facially on the qualified electors petition in December of 2024. Now, our response to that through the working group and in direct response was that the qualified electors petition directly referenced acts of misconduct during the 2024 general election. And so we did take issue that our report, which got a little bit more specific into the false post-election audit that was submitted to our office, was somehow not incorporated within the generalized statement of the qualified electors when they submitted their petition. Nevertheless, the governor's office during the testimony on this bill said that because it wasn't to their satisfaction facially on the petition that the qualified electors have, this was something that the secretary and I had both sort of disputed during the discussion on this bill. The committee responded and said, okay, well, maybe we should create a third prong where if it's dealing with an alleged violation of the election code, the Secretary of State could also submit a verified petition. Now, what happened after that was in October, of 2025, I believe, maybe it was November, qualified electors again submitted another petition in which they specifically called out two things. One was the post-election ballot audit, which we had already referenced in our findings and what we had thought was incorporated in the first petition submitted by the qualified electors, and the failure of the Weston County Clerk to appear before the subcommittee and the defiance of a subpoena. So that's just a little bit of background on this. Secretary Gray, just reiterating points that he brought up during the interim, certainly supportive of this concept. Always, supportive of adding some additional things with an office that definitely has oversight and may have more insights into things like the post-election ballot audit or any alleged violation of the election code. But those were some things that we had highlighted during the interim. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that testimony and that background. Helps us out. Any questions for the Secretary of State's office? Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. Further testimony on House Bill 86. Come on up. Oh, did you have something, Chairman Knapp? Okay.
Morning, Chairman, members of the committee. Gail Simmons, still Civics 307, focused on civic engagement. I oppose this bill. HB 0086 does one thing and one thing only. It adds the Secretary of State as an authorized complainant to the governor for removal complaints against a county clerk when the allegation is misconduct or malfeasance tied to Wyoming election code violation. It does not change the removal process after a complaint. It does not add new standards. It does not add screening. It does not add clearer definitions. It only expands who can trigger a removal case. This matters because county clerks are independently elected county officers. County voters already have a direct path to the governor through a verified complaint by a qualified elector. County commissioners also already have a verified complaint path. These are local accountability tools and they already exist. Adding a statewide political office as a complainant bypasses the county. It also expands the Secretary of State's reach in a way the public should view cautiously. A chief election officer role includes guidance, training, and coordination. It does not require a new removal trigger over one and only one of the 8 county offices. Supporters will say this strengthens accountability. I do not see a gap that this bill closes. Nothing would have changed from that incident. When Wyoming creates a new authority, it should be because existing tools fail. They did not fail. Here, the tools already reach the governor and the attorney general already prosecutes if the governor directs. House Bill 86 adds political leverage, not improved governance. Please reject House Bill 86, and I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Any questions? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Gail. So if I understand what you said correctly, basically you're saying that the Secretary of State now becomes, and for lack of better words, he's a juror right now. He hears this case and now he's part of the case to trigger. Is that
Chairman, Representative Davis? No, it makes no changes. It's like if you file suit for some issue that you have to have standing in order to file that
Correct.
suit.
Yeah.
So all it does is it adds the Secretary of State as standing in an election that is administered at the county level. So he's actually, or he or she, that office is not in the process. It's between the county to the governor. And so this basically inserts the only place in all of this that it inserts an elected state official into a process where every single other incident, every other one, is solely with the electors and the Board of County Commissioners. The county clerks do not report to the Secretary of State. They report to the electors of their county.
Good.
Pretty close. I still think I was cloudy on it. I'll have the sidebar later.
Further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee. Marguerite Herman. I'm here for the League of Women Voters. And I was going to make the point about the local issue. This is a crime in our statutes that is prosecuted locally. It's an offense against the electors who are rightly named in the current statutes. It's complainants. So they generate a complaint and goes to the governor and the Secretary of State. I would assume if the governor wanted to, could certainly use information generated by the Secretary of State's office, take comment from the attorneys and analysts in that office. But as far as the complaint, where it originates and who investigates it, it is the local electors. It's a locally elected office with a local prosecutor, and that the Secretary of State can be supportive in part of information, source of information investigation, but they are not part of the process. It is, as was stated before me, that Secretary of State is really not part of that, and bringing it in just injects a layer of potentially politics that doesn't eliminate anything. It doesn't illuminate anything. It doesn't speed anything up, make it more thorough. It just kind of adds to the process that doesn't really help it along. Anyway, so the league would just say that the current process is working and it is adequate, and to complicate it with issues that are not part of the process now would not be helpful. We oppose House Bill 86. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Herman? Thank you for being here. Further testimony, House Bill 86. Okay, Chairman Knapp.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for second bite at the apple here and to the committee. I think it's important, a couple things that were noted. It's a very serious issue, number one. Chief election officers have local control and a lot of power in that. We're an oversight committee, and we were concerned with making sure that there was a process in place where a local community could have recourse in an election. Now, the original complaints that were filed were general in nature, and it was because there was 3 different ballots used. 3 different ballots. And that could be a mistake. I mean, that could have been a mistake. The thing that's key in this is that audit. The audit that took place and was filed to the Secretary of State, and that audit was allegedly fraudulent. And so that piece is important because a local elector wouldn't have known that. A local elector looks at the election and says, here's what happened in the election. I have a complaint to file with the governor's office. I think it's key that it can come from both an elector, the county commissioners, and the Secretary of State's office, who that audit goes to confirm. And their testimony is very important to the governor's office and to the AG's office. So this is a state issue, not necessarily just a local issue. And so I think that's the important factor in the Secretary of State being included, is that audit reporting is very valuable information for both the governor, the AG's office, and the elector, because it was after this that the electors filed their second complaints that had to do with that specifically. So that would be my answer to that.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification, Mr. Chairman. Any questions, final questions for Chairman Knapp? Okay, any further public testimony? All right, with that, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Representative Johnson. Second by Representative Struck. Amendments and discussion on House Bill 86, if there's any. Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd offer up an amendment on page 2, line 1. It seems to me that in the statement here that any county officer is guilty of misconduct is a little presumptive. And I'd like to change is to may be guilty. That's what I'd like to offer up.
Do I have a second on that motion? Seconded by Representative Provenza. Discussion on that amendment. Mark, you clear where we're at? If I can just ask our staff attorney here, I believe that that's existing language in the statute currently. Senator Provenza, you want to?
Thank you, Mr. or Vice Chairman. It is current language in the statute. And so how it's reading is whenever it appears to the governor on verified complaint, submit that any county officer is guilty. That's the current language, is guilty of misconduct. So it's already kind of a
Presume.
maybe. I think the language is probably working as it is because it's saying whenever it appears. It appears, it's not whenever it is known. So it's the beginning of an investigation. So I think we can leave the language that is language because it's not saying that they are guilty, they shall be guilty. It's
They appear guilty.
It's whenever it is.
Appears.
Whenever it appears and it begins an investigation.
Clear as mud.
Mr. Chairman, with that, I would remove my amendment.
All right, and the second.
Second is friendly.
All right. Further discussion or amendments? Seeing none?
Hold on,
Oh,
Mr. Chairman, I'm
okay.
thinking, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
Can we open discussion or?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. So I think that, I mean, I don't think I have any issue with the Board of County Commissioners or maybe qualified elector. I don't know why we need to expand the powers of the Secretary of State. I'm a little concerned that we hear this bill at a different political juncture, it'll be expanding the powers to somebody else. And someone else might want these powers. Right now, I think the governor can do this. I'm gonna be a no vote, but I'm open to discussion as to the concerns that we heard from the public today.
Further discussion?
So this is only with regard to the county clerk. No other elections.
Further discussion, question, Representative Davis?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I too have a question, because the Secretary of State, in my opinion, should have impartiality in this view, because this charge is or this accusation is being brought to them, and the impartiality for them to determine whether it has substance to go forth. So if they, so I believe, in my opinion, it clouds that vision to go to them and distorts the impartiality. So if line 19 through 22 weren't in there, I think the bill is just fine. But with that, I see But anyway, I'll probably be a no on this. Thank you.
Further, yep, Representative Bornstrom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. It makes me curious why we've eliminated, I mean, the directness which they can go. And it was brought to our attention that they may be, the Secretary of State may discover issues that local people wouldn't. However, I wonder why we're not directing the Secretary of State to alert the local officials and then leave the process in place. So that would be my question, and I would probably be a no if we can't clarify that.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question being called. Mark, call the roll.
Representative Banks,
Aye.
and I'm sorry, we're voting on House Bill 86. Representative Davis,
No.
Representative Fornstrom,
No.
Representative Johnson,
Aye.
Representative Ottman,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
No.
Representative Schmid,
Aye.
Representative Strock,
Aye.
Chairman Winter,
Aye.
6-3. Yes, you pass.
Mr. Chairman, committee, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Committee, with that clears our docket for the day. So without anything else, I think we're adjourned.
Great job.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Also, I'm kind of a list like this, but I wouldn't need to bring a cooler for my